Dear participants, gathered in this meeting of hearts and of minds to attendance, full of desire for moments of inspiration, peace and joy. Atëherë të dashur pjesëmarrës në këtë takim zemrash, elementi është të hapura, plot dëshirë për çastet të mësuesve, për qetësi edhe për gëzim. Është një ndjenjë e bukur t'i urosh mirëseardhje, një miku të dashur të ne, Zotit Dunbar, i cili për 37 vite të jetës së tij ja ka kushtuar shërbimit në qendrën kulturore Bahá'í së bashku me bashkëshortën e tij. It is a very pleasant feeling to welcome a dear friend of us, Mr. Dunbar, who has dedicated 37 years of life service to the Bahá'í World Center together with his wife. Zotin Dunbar nga viti 1988 deri në vitin 2010 ishte antar i Shtëpisë Universale të Drejtësisë. Shtëpia Universale e Drejtësisë përfaqëson kreun e besimit Bahá'í. In 1988-2010, Mr. Dunbar was a member of the Universal House of Justice, that is the head of the Bahá'í faith. Për të kuptuar sa të pak se cila është përgjegjësia e një antari të Shtëpisë Universale të Drejtësisë, më lejoni të lexoj disa rjeshta nga libri Dispensacioni Bahá'u'llahut, duke cituar ruajtësin e çështjes. For getting a glimpse of responsibilities of a member of Universal House of Justice, allow me to read one paragraph from the dispensation of Bahá'u'lláh, where the Guardian says, in the conduct of the administrative affairs of the faith, in the enactment of the legislation necessary to supplement the laws of the Kitab al-Aqdas, the members of the Universal House of Justice, it should be borne in mind, are not, as Baha'u'llah's utterances clearly imply, responsible to those whom they represent, nor are they allowed to be governed by the feelings, the general opinion, and even the conviction of the mass of the faithful, or of those who directly elect them. They are to follow in a prayerful attitude the dictates and promptings of their conscience. They may indeed, they must acquaint themselves with the condition prevailing among the community, must weigh dispassionately in their minds the merits of any case presented for their consideration, but must reserve for themselves the right of unfettered decision. God will there inspire them with whatever He will. Is Baha'u'llah's incontrovertible assurance. Ruajtësi thotë, në ushtrimin e punëve administrative të besimit, në adoptimin e legjislacionit të nevojshëm për plotësimin e ligjeve të Kitabit al-Aqdas, duhet mbajtur parasysh se antarët e Shtëpisë Universale të Drejtësisë, siç e nënkupton qartë thëniet e Baha'u'llahut, nuk janë përgjegjës ndaj atyre që përfaqësojnë. As nuk lejohet të sundohen nga ndjenja, nga opinioni i përgjithshëm, madje as nga bindjet e masës së besimtarëve, ose të atyre që i zgjedhin drejt për së drejtë. Ata duhet të ndjekin duke u lutur diktatet e shtysat e përgjegjës së tyre. Ata munden në të vërtetë duhet të njihen me kushtet vizotruese në gjirin e komunitetit. Duhet i përshojnë pa pasion në mendjen e vet dera të çdo rasti që u paraqitet për shërbim, por duhet i rezervojnë vetes të drejtën e një vendimi të pavarur. Me të vërtetë, Perëndia do të frymëzojë atyre që do, për sigurimin pa dyshim që e Bahá'u'lláh. Të dëgjosh bisedat e Zotit Dunbar në YouTube, personalisht unë e kam bërë këtë, mbushesh me një këndvështrim të pasur të kuptuarit e mësimeve të Bahá'u'llahut. Sot, Zotin Dunbar e kemi në disnesh dhe do ta dëgjojmë me kënaqësi dhe vëmendje. To listen to the talks of Mr. Dunbar in YouTube personally, I have been enriched in understanding of the teaching of Baha'u'lláh. Today, Mr. Dunbar is among us, and we will listen with joy and attention. Welcome and thank you. Përkthimi është I siguruar në vëmendje që thash.
It is a joy and an honor to be present with you here in Tirana. And it's an added pleasure as it was not part of my trip, I've been in Finland and Sweden and Germany and France and Spain and Greece, and just by chance and through the kindness of Ayam and Elham, they brought me here to Tirana. I could have gone to Athens and flown to Austria, which is my next destination. But they said you can fly from Tirana to Austria, and indeed that's what I've arranged to do. So I have a chance to visit another country on this visit. And I don't know whether that was in the introduction or not. I've been here before at the very beginning. What was it, 92, I guess. 1992. I came here and found a country that looked empty. It was very sad looking. Had a few Chinese trucks. Cars, you mostly didn't ever see a car. Shops. People were standing in line to buy a tomato. People were standing in line to buy a piece of bread. And you got to the line got to they said finished, it's finished. It was such a contrast. Now you have a modern country that's joined the other nations in material achievements. You know, the Baha'i community, friends, some of you, I think, may be hearing something about the Baha'is for the first time tonight. Let me say that with the coming of Baha'u'llah to Iran in the 1800s, a transformation began to take place in a population of people who were very fanatic in their religious outlooks. Between the Muslims and the Christians and the Jews and the Zoroastrians, there were terrific prejudices. I mean, prejudices that would lead to death if the shadow of one of those fell on another person. It was not acceptable, you know. You never touched anything that one of those kafir, one of those infidels had touched. You couldn't drink out of the same cup that they drank. Oh, so many fanatic things. And Baha'u'llah addressed his message. He said that his message was inspired by God for this time, so that we might become one nation, we might become one people all over the face of the earth. The planet is full of riches. We have human beings everywhere. We're gradually understanding that all the human beings are made of the same dust, are created by the same God, and have the same purpose. In the past, because of divisions and differences and distances, it was not possible yet to proclaim the oneness of the whole earth, of the whole globe. In fact, the previous religious messengers addressed a mankind that believed that the earth was flat. And it was only later that they discovered the wholeness of the earth. Baha'u'llah says that religious truth, the very heart of truth of the religions of the past, is like the water of the oceans. The oceans have different names, but if you look carefully, you'll find out that the water is all connected. The Mediterranean is connected to the Atlantic is connected to the Pacific to the Indian Ocean. So it's really one. He said, if you see the bounty of God, the teachings of God that have been brought by these great founders of the various religious communities around the world, you'll see that they have brought the means of peace, that they have always had the influence of uniting. Muhammad himself, in the West, they have such an idea that he was a warrior, a fierce fighter, and so on. But he really came to unite the tribes of Arabia, and then to unite all the other nations that followed in suit and became part of the great Islamic empire. So gradually, Baha'u'llah was able to bring together followers of these different groups who before wouldn't sit in the same room together, he taught them to be one people. And he called them Bahá'ís, the followers of the glory of God. And he said that this was to spread across the whole world and be the means of recreating mankind, of creating a new society, a new civilization, which would be for the first time a world civilization. Then he said that social evolution of mankind has started way back with Adam, where the first teachings of the prophet and the messengers of God were about the unity of family. After unity of family came the unity of tribes. After the unity of tribes became the establishment of city-states. After city-states, the concept through Islam particularly was the birth of nationhood, individual nations. Now Baha'u'llah calls us to the last stage of social development on this planet, the highest stage, which is international unity. But not international unity, but actually the consolidation of the nations into one world order. Some of the Bahá'ís certainly will be familiar with the phrase of Baha'u'llah, that the earth is but one country and mankind its citizens. Now when we think of an individual country, we think of the responsibilities we have to the nation and the responsibilities that the nation has to us. In other words, you expect the nation to be well run, to provide you with health, possibilities, and education, and justice in its system. So likewise, Baha'u'llah says that the riches of the earth don't belong to the people who live within certain lines that have been drawn on the face of the earth, but they belong to the whole of mankind. Now there's a big step, because the countries are so possessive of their riches and their natural endowments, you know. But eventually we have to see this. Why should a nation that's sitting on top of lots of oil live so much better than all the rest of the people of the world? It doesn't make any sense. So he calls us to social justice, justice for mankind. He says, why has God created us all of the same dust? He says he's done so that no one may exalt himself over anybody else. We should all realize we're all made of the same material. And as much as we might want to arise and conquer neighboring countries and so on, the Baha'i teachings say in the end you can only occupy 2 meters. There's no king, there's no emperor that's been able to occupy more than the size of his grave, which isn't very big. And he suggests that we learn to think and live in a different way, so that when we go to the next stage of our existence, which he promises is a more glorious stage, a better stage, a stage filled with the kind of goodness that we haven't always experienced here in this life. And he promises we'll be united again with our loved ones, and that we'll go on to new phases, new stages of development. I would say that of the religious teachings of the past, Baha'u'llah has written more than any of the past teachers about what the next world is like. He talks about the association there of those who are believers. Now, of course, we have initial image of that from Christianity, and then again we have beautiful teachings from the Quran on that subject. But Baha'u'llah expands it even more. It's quite fascinating.